Hi, my name is Mvelo Mahlangu. I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa, and I've been in New York for 21 days now. Um, Interesting. I'd describe the fellowship. Yo, there's so many parts to it, but I think I'd. Ooh, where do where do I start? I'd describe the fellowship as a very interesting experience that's definitely opened me up to reconsidering or relooking at my preconceived ideas of certain things. I did come here with trying to come here with no expectations, but I mean, I think in my experiences, I realized I did have ingrained assumptions and of what New York would be like. Um, it's challenged me. I've done things that I would not necessarily pick to do. And it's put me in, I guess, rooms where I've had to be vulnerable with trying things for the first time and doing it in front of people. Um, yeah, yeah. I would describe this fellowship as an experience that I wish everyone could have or have access to. Yeah. Okay, so speaking on vulnerability, I struggle with like public speaking. I don't know why, but I struggle with that, or I generally struggle with, I guess, being the first to say something or do something. And on my third day here doing the improv jam session, I sort of like just told myself to just put myself out there, and did just everything that I usually would shy away from. Um, and yeah, I think in that moment of vulnerability, there was quite a bit of support. Um, and so that encouraged me, and it still does encourage me to, I think, oh, that set precedent to all my other experiences, in encouraging me to just step forward, say something, do something. So yeah, I've yeah, sorry. And then with preconceived ideas, I don't think an activity per se, but just my overall perception and engagement with New York. I've walked many streets, taken many subways, spoken to so many people along the way, even if it's just here and there. And I would say my initial perception of New York was just this place that's too loud, um, too out there for me. Just very people unfriendly because everyone's just busy, and yeah, I also just thought people would generally just be way too loud or out there. Um, and well, yeah, it is generally the streets are loud. A lot of people are friendly, and navigating around the city, I realized that I feel like I could thrive in a place like this. And yeah, I don't know, I've opened up a lot more to this place. So um, yeah, it makes me think about my ideas of different countries or different regions and places, and what preconceived ideas I may have, and how yeah, those ideas may not be true until I've actually experienced that. What's my challenges with New York? Uh, okay, I think I'd have to split this up. I think there was a bit of a challenge with the place itself, and then a challenge which could be attributed to like me or the way the fellowship's been set up, or just New York. So the first would be, this is the first challenge that's come to mind. I think I struggled to actually find places to eat and sit down at. Why I say it was such a challenge was, it's quite overwhelming. So there's so many different places, so many different things. But then on top of that, I don't know, I just end up reverting back to what I know best. But in addition to all of that, it's also financially trying to plan ahead. Like, can I afford that? And then, you know, like how often do I also eat out? Which I think gave me a bit more insight into how someone who lives here kind of navigates life. Another challenge that I've kind of picked up on is, I think towards the end, I've kind of had moments of feeling lonely. And it's not, I don't know if I should describe it as lonely, but maybe feeling alone at times. And I say this because while I'm out on activities, and going to events and stuff, it's amazing being able to bump into people and start conversation, and you know, we get to know each other, share backgrounds on each other. But it's a little bit sad going back to the apartment knowing that it was very fleeting, and while you may connect, say, let's connect over Instagram or online, it doesn't really move past that, if I have to say. And so I think that's probably been one of my challenges, kind of very touch and go with everyone. And so it kind of does leave you feeling, oh, okay, now I'm kind of back at the salon. Yeah. I think when I was alone in the apartment, I would talk to like family and friends. I would genuinely catch up on series. But also I kind of enjoyed my moments of just not having the pause or the moment to just not do anything, and I intentionally also did so because just in my day-to-day life back home, I'm already constantly running and constantly busy, and so I don't always get time to just sit. So I think like in that way, in one of my recent journals, I've kind of just shared that the apartment's kind of been this very like little safe space for me to just decompress. Another challenge, I think, in addition to the whole like connecting with people, but it's so touch and go, is being in such an artistic place and having to kind of sort of separate myself from it and not like fully engage with it was also a little bit of a challenge. But I think in that way I've had to observe from afar and just take it in for what it is and not just dive into it. The activities that I enjoyed was the improv jam session. I don't think I would have ever engaged with it ever. It's one thing I've observed is how much of a culture that is here, whereas back home it's only something that's known by performing artists or people within that field and not really anyone else. And I don't know, it's so fun, and I would love to implement something like that with my friends, just do that when I get back. Another favorite of mine was the Soul Bhakti session at the Bhakti Center. Um, I really enjoyed, firstly, the music of the kirtan, and just the chanting that we did. There was so much storytelling involved, but also, I guess, yeah, storytelling and singing. And that kind of immersed me into this sort of, I don't want to say trance, but this connectedness that I felt with everyone else in the room. And I think that was further reinforced by everything that happened after all the singing, which was we got fed by after the whole Bhakti session. There was catering, and they were like, oh, please come and have food, and you just sit down on the floor and just chat to everyone else around you and connect, which was really lovely. Yes, okay, cool. So that, with Mocha, I think I found it quite impactful because I've never ever really considered America or New York incorporating Chinese American history or culture within it. I think I've just seen things so black and white that I've sort of like not realized how much history and layers and different people have kind of helped contribute to the build-up of what is now. And so I just found that whole exhibition and my time at Mocha very eye-opening, I want to say. Very eye-opening. Yeah, it did, like many things, it did kind of touch on some emotional strings of just the migrant story, I want to say, which happens everywhere. Yeah, people just trying to build a better life for themselves, and in that way, sometimes, a lot of times, get exploited. But nonetheless, the human nature to survive is one that is quite inspiring. So yeah, and then it was the Chinese New Year day where I went to the Bronx Library Center and sat in on the Latin jazz flutist or artist Carlos, and that was so beautiful. I've listened to bossa nova. I've like enjoyed bossa nova, but like hearing it live for the first time and engaging with it on my phone under Apple Music, that goes under the category of world music, and you always listen to world music and different genres, but you never think you'll ever really engage with it face to face. And so this was a moment where I did engage with it face to face, and I really enjoyed it. I was a bit sad that there weren't that many people in the audience to also listen to his music, or not a lot of people maybe knew that it was happening. And I just thought to myself, I'm in this auditorium with beautiful music, live music happening at the Bronx Library. Do people even know out on the street like something like this is happening? So I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Yeah. So then to speak on the people that I've met over the period of this fellowship program, I've met so many cool, interesting humans that I've luckily gotten to know in that short moment. I'll start with my recent, which was my trip back from DC in the bus. I sat next to a very interesting person, very outspoken, very no-nonsense person, which it's quite the opposite of like, I think in just general personality or demeanor, very opposite to me. I think I sort of like shy away sometimes, but this person was like, so we actually, how we started talking was, so this person, Rashad, sat next to me on the bus, and we first started talking when someone down the aisle was watching like Instagram and TikTok on loud. Their volume was just loud, and I think the sound of your phone versus conversation is so different. You hear the sound from your phone a lot louder, and so Rashad just was just like randomly spoke to me and was like, "This man is inconsiderate. I don't know who's gonna tell him how loud he is." And we both sort of kept to ourselves for just a little while longer, up until it just got unbearable, and Rashad straight up stood up and was like, "Sir, you need to switch that off." Which the poor man did say. He apologized and he like switched it off. And then 1 hour into our trip, that's when we started talking and getting into it, and we realized how much connection there was in between the both of us, from, I guess, to some extent, background, lifestyle or circumstance, and then just general views. I think were very similar, and we spoke non-stop for 4.5 hours maybe. I would even say 5 hours, including the bus ride, then our subway ride partway together. And he really encouraged me to come back in the future, just come back, come and check out, like a whole lot more. And yeah, just hit me up when you come. It's like saying, plan a girls trip, come, holler at me, and let's just, So it was a very interesting conversation that I think also shed a lot of light on a personal level outside of you guys, the day-to-day life or experiences, and his experience also was New York and DC, and just his climb up the sort of like corporate ladder. He shared how much within the corporate world he was not going to tolerate, and so he's had to learn how to build that thick skin and resist it all, and just at the end of the day have mutual understanding with all his colleagues, just general respect around the work that they do, and outside of that they move on. So that's how he's kind of been able to navigate through very conservative views. I mean, he is a black and queer individual, so being in the corporate world with older white men, I think he's had to kind of like, hold his ground. So that was, I think, one of my biggest like highlights in terms of engaging with someone here. But I think what all these different interactions with all these different people have shown me and reinforced is the idea that in some way we're all interconnected in one way or another, and it's not that hard to try and connect with people. I think sometimes we make it hard, but it's not that hard. So you can connect with people from different parts of the world in some way or another, and that's kind of cool. I've thought about my time here and how I'm going to take all of what I've experienced and implement it back home. I've definitely thought on all the things that I have already overlooked back home, or how many experiences I've missed just because I've kind of been so caught up in my own world. One thing this has shown me is just how much, not just as an artist or creative, but also as a human, I've missed out on a lot of life, I want to say, general life. I think I've kind of been so caught up in the creative field or industry or just even my bubble that I haven't really engaged with activities outside of what I've known. And I didn't realize exactly how bad it was up until I was doing all these different activities, wondering to myself, why have I never done that? Why have I never tried to look up if there are free events or community events? It does make me a little bit sad because it's yeah, like not just me. It's not just me that I'm also thinking about. I'm also thinking about like all my friends back home. Like, are they also thinking about what activities happen outside of anything creative? And when I say creative, it is just the art scene, I want to say. So yeah, I really want to, when I get back home, just look at how I can implement some of these activities, I want to say, within my friend group, which also just kind of happens to be my work group as well, and how we can gain inspiration from things that we don't usually do, and then also setting up like a weekly or monthly schedule where we just go out and engage with people from different circles. It makes me a little bit sad because as we grow older, we kind of start narrowing ourselves in. Childlike energy is to be curious, is to wonder, is to engage with anything and everything. Yet as we grow older, we sort of start boxing ourselves in, narrowing ourselves, and closing ourselves off. So yeah, I really do want to implement just trying different stuff. I think I've appreciated the weekly therapy sessions so much. I think while it's helped me sort of offload a little bit about my time here, it's more than anything helped me deal with where my mind has been even before coming here, which I think moving forward, I would have had to deal with all of that anyways, and I'm glad that I was able to do that here with a professional, I guess, which does kind of like, I don't want to say, oh, when I get back home I have this new fresh start, but it does help lighten the load moving forward. Yeah, so it's been I've appreciated it so much, and I've found it so helpful in just, I don't know, just being a human roaming around here in New York and